The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have a great guest for us today. He comes to us, brought to us by former guests of the show, legendary coach, Coach Mumme. But Marcus Washington, I just said it the wrong way. Marcus Washington joins the show. I just talked to him about his name. Sorry about that, Marcus. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's great to be on some platform. So I really appreciate you having me here.
Hey, not a problem. So first and foremost, for most of the people that don't know who you are, the listeners out there, where did you grow up? What kind of high schooling and college did you have?
Well, grew up in Chicago, inner city Chicago, and was just a sports fanatic. Just loved sports, loved everything about it. Finally got the shot to play football, sport that I love. Wasn't my number one sport. Baseball was actually my number one sport that I actually excelled in. I feel like, but from high school, I did not feel like I was totally ready for the college level because the coaching and the facilities were lacking in the inner city of Chicago. So that put me a step behind most players at the college level. So I started off at a place called Triton Junior College. And so going to
it's 6 o'clock.
The junior college rank was probably the best decision and best thing that I'd ever done for myself and just for my overall development. From there, went to Iowa Wesleyan College, and that's where I met Coach Mumme and his great staff, and really, really learned a lot about football at that point in time, and learned to love football.
Yeah, I mean, I relate to that a lot. I mean, I played football growing up in high school, but swimming was actually my main sport and the sport that I was better at. Looking back, probably should have just stuck with swimming. Football's not good on the shoulders and is not good for swimmers, but is what it is. You learn those things. I relate to that a lot because I started football. My buddies were playing football. I had a love for the sport. I still do. Drives my wife crazy from Thursday to Monday night when we're sitting here watching every game possible.
I can relate.
From college all the way through the pros. we get a little mix in their high school on Friday nights and now Saturday mornings, as my son just started JV football and finished his first season at JV football as a freshman. So getting a little bit of that, and it's fun. I just love the game and I love being around the game. Even though it did cause me to have an injury that took me out of swimming, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
you
sir.
mentioned it a little bit there, how you met Coach Mumme. So what's that relationship like with you and Coach Mumme now?
Oh, he's a mentor. I definitely follow him, as well as his son, who is now, as you may or may not know, but he is the offensive coordinator for Colorado State University now, Matt Mumme. But yeah, just we keep in touch. We may hear each other's voices maybe twice a year, but between text messages and hellos via Facebook, uh, we keep in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ever since he's been on the show, I try to keep in touch with all the guests that have been on the show and stay in contact with them and everything like that. And what also drives everyone crazy that's around me is I do follow everybody that, if they're in a sport or involved in anything, I follow that for the guests that have been on the show. So for all the athletes that I've had on the show and all the coaches that are on the show, my phone doesn't stop dinging with updates about what's going on. I recently did talk to Coach Mumme about his son being at Colorado State, and added them to my update list to keep in touch with his son and see what's going on, which is it's fun, but the time zones are what's killing me now, being on the East Coast, and that 3-hour time difference kind of it plays a factor sometimes when you're trying to get some
I'm
sleep and
sure.
your phone's dinging constantly throughout the night.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, so you had a little bit of a different path to college. You said you went to the JUCO route first. So what was the recruiting process like? Did you just go to JUCO as like a walk on? Was there a recruiting process to go there, or what was that like?
Yeah, I just as a walk on, and you also have to sort of prove yourself as a legit football player. You go through some training, and if you get through that, then you're welcome to stay on the team. Of course, you're not promised any playing time or anything like that. And you have to keep in mind, and this I didn't know, you're playing with the Division I players for the most part. Any JUCO that you go to, especially the JUCOs that are known for um, having making transitions for their players, making those things happen. So I just so happened to go to a junior college where transitions were very rapid, and they had a good name for themselves at that time. And to be honest with you, during my JUCO years, I did not get very much playing time. I saw the field, but didn't make any catches, but continued to work hard with the team. My JUCO coach saw that, and when I started getting recruited for my 4-year institution, my JUCO coach made sure to let that be known to some of the coaches that came in looking for just players that had leadership ability, had some type of experience at the college level, and just were hungry, and that's who I was.
Yeah, I mean, I get it to an extent, not at the college level, high school, I wasn't the biggest or the fastest receiver that we had. I mean, I graduated high school at 6'5", 155 pounds. So it wasn't like I was this big specimen, but I mean, I was tall. I got
Yeah.
used sparingly, red zone opportunities when, we need a jump ball. All right, let's stick to the 6'5" out there to throw it up and see if he can go up and get it, type of deal. But the coaches realized, from freshman year all the way through even my senior year, wasn't labeled a starter, sparing playing time. Like I said, just kind of red zone opportunities, maybe some special teams here and there, but started to earn a backup role and starting on all special teams at that point by my senior year, just because of the work that I was putting in. If they needed somebody to fill in for a spot, I was the first guy to jump in and be on the dreaded scout teams and got beat up by the starters every day in practice. And, I appreciate those athletes more because they go unnoticed to the public because the stats aren't there. But all coaches will see that and know I got a hard-nosed kid who's going to come out and help my team win. You don't hear a lot about, this guy's on the practice squad of the pros, but he's emulating the other team and helping get the team ready for the starters and everything like that. I appreciate those athletes a lot more. I mean, being that athlete, is that kind of where your mindset is too?
Yes, sir. You are so right about that. And that's the one thing that I learned as a junior college player. The sport of football, it just involves so many. I mean, you may have 100 players on the team, but a lot of times you need that just to function. And just to have productive practice time and productivity of backups. You have your special teams, you have specialists, you have so many different positions that run a certain lane. It is the most complex sport, I believe, but the best sport when it comes to team. There's nothing like it. And what I also love about football is not only are you physically preparing, but you are also mentally preparing as well. I love the mental part of the sport. And I feel like that's where I really excel. I just would tell myself and I would visualize, doing great things and helping my team out. It was never, ever about me. I never really saw it that way. Always played for my team and always played for my coaches. Yeah.
100%. I relate to that way too much because, it's high school ball. I'm just pickoff specialist, outside contained. Like you said, everyone has a lane to run. I didn't show up on the stat sheet, but I funneled everybody back into where, the headhunters and all that were on kickoff and everything like that. And some of my friends didn't get it during the season. Like I would watch film through the week, like on the offense and defense to prepare myself for practice for scout team. And my friends were like, well, why aren't you coming out? I was like, I'm watching some game film. They're like, you're not a starter. Like, you're not even a backup at this point in time. Why are you watching film? It's like, it's only going to make everybody else better. You know what I mean? If I can, they always had me as the scout team quarterback. I don't know why, because I was a receiver, but they always put me at the scout team quarterback. And if I knew how that quarterback moved in the pocket, what his cadence was, everything like that, that helped our defense to be better. We went 5-5 up until my senior year, but they were close games. You know what I mean? Like I feel like, you prepare the team, the defense. Okay, they know his cadence is this. They know this. They're ready for it come Friday night and everything like that, or Saturday if you're in college or pros, whatever day the game's on. And trying to beat that into my 14-year-old's head right now is a challenge,
I hear you. I hear you. Tell me about it. Yeah. I really, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yep. I really admire and love and respect the intelligence of the game too. And so that's where coaching comes in.
Yep.
I watch football now, just like you do, all weekend from Thursday to Monday. But I watch it in a different way. I watch for the intelligence of the game. Yes, I'm entertained and I cheer for certain teams. I watch all teams. I watch all games. Um, but I watch for the intelligence of the game. I watch to see what coaches do. I watch to see what decisions are made. I watch to see when timeouts are taken. I watch the strategy behind the game. So I watch it a little differently than maybe most people do. But that just makes it more interesting to me. Sometimes I predict, I'll sit here and talk to my wife is usually sitting on the couch with me. But sometimes I'll mutter something to her and I'll just say, well, they're going to do this or this is what's going to happen. And it holds up most of the time. But that's what I enjoy about it now.
Yeah. And, I always said, even while I was playing in high school, I feel like I'd make a better coach than I did a player because I see the game differently than you see all these guys that were these star athletes. They started from the time they put pads on all the way through the pros. They never sat the bench. They never had to work. I don't want to say they didn't have to work hard to get to where they were because they did put in time after that. But you know what I mean? They weren't the grinders that grinded to get to where they were at. And like you, I sit there and I critique the game while I'm watching it. Like,
Yeah.
oh well, I was like, oh, how did he miss that? I was like, well, the linebacker missed his assignment. That's why he was so wide open. That linebacker's supposed to go here in that type of defense. She's like, how do you know that defense just from looking how they were lined up? I was like, I love the game. You know what I mean? I watch it and I know he's out of position. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you said, the timeouts throughout the game. I mean, as a fan, sometimes it's like, why are they taking a timeout here? Let's speed the game up sometimes. But it's like, no, that's strategy. And you don't think about that too often when you're just a fan.
Right. Right.
So did you
Agreed.
have any memorable moments that you want to talk about from your playing days?
Memorable moments. I remember just absolutely having fun. And not worrying about making mistakes. And I don't think, but I know this came from our coaches. Our coaches expected us to have some bumps in the road, but they wanted us to bounce back. And I remember, and everybody uses this cliche now. Everybody uses play the next play. The next play is the important one. I first heard that one from Coach Mumme. And I find that to be very true because that is also a mental part of the game, is playing the next play and just forgetting about what just happened. And so that made things a lot better when it came to playing. But memorable, just making plays for my team, not the touchdowns, but the first downs. Those came a lot often for me. In a season, I probably scored a touchdown every other game. Some games I had multiple touchdowns. All right, that's a bonus. But I had an awful lot of first downs. And those were, having the ability to keep the ball, move the ball, stay on the field, making progress, moving forward. Those are the kind of things that were important to me. And this is what I see. If I'm on the field, that means my opponent, which is the defense, who's probably working harder than me. Because don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for defenders. They work hard.
Yeah.
If anyone is exerting a lot of energy between an offense and a defense, it's going to be your defense. So keeping them on the field made a difference.
Yep.
And running them all over the field made a difference.
Yeah. I say
Yeah.
it all the time too as well. And people, I don't think a lot of people grasp it. They see this a running back and okay, oh, he's only averaging 4 yards a carry or 3 yards a carry or something like that. It's low yardage a carry. It's like, you know what? I'll take that 3 yards a carry back because if you do the math, 3 times 4 is 12. That's a first down. You know,
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're running the death out of the defensive line. You're getting them tired. They're going to start missing assignments. It's going to be easier to block. I'll take a average 3 yards to carry back over a guy that's going to dance in the backfield and try to make these 10, 15, 20-yard runs and pad their stats. Now, give me give me that workhorse, just that power back. He's not going to make any highlights that way, but he's a grinder, and like you said, he's keeping the defense on the field. It
Mm-hmm.
we ran at looking back, it was a great offensive scheme. Uh, when I was in high school, we ran the ball probably 75 to 80% of the time in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
You ran the ball. It was like 3rd and 10 plus. We're running the ball, and fans were screaming. We need to pass the ball. I heard one, and it sticks with me today, and I say it all the time, and it's funny. But somebody said, "Oh, the forward pass was invented in the '70s. You should use it." You know what I mean? I'd laugh. I laugh now hearing that, but on the second half, the exact opposite. A lot more play actions, and we threw the ball a lot more because the defense was tired
There
from
you
us
go.
just completely running the ball in the first half. The defensive line was slow getting off the ball. They were missing assignments, and it was a lot easier in the second half for us. But it
Yeah.
was because we put the work in the first half. Yeah, we might be down 14-7. It wasn't high scoring games, but it was entertaining when you look back on it and you see that now, knowing the mental side of the game. That
Yeah.
yeah, that was a strategy that our coaches knew, but none of us were receivers. Me, I was. Can we throw the ball a couple more times in the first half? Can we get a little bit more? But
There you go.
looking back, it was a good game plan, and a lot more teams I think need to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that you're speaking to the intelligence of the game. And knowing that, the science behind how how us as humans exert energy. If we're backpedaling,
Yeah.
if you're on the defense and you're backpedaling, you're exerting more energy than you would be running forward.
Yep.
Uh, so it is, yeah, that's the science and the intelligence of the game.
And I translate everything like that to what I do to my daily life now. Obviously, I'm not an athlete anymore. I'm a stand-up comedian and a salesman. You know what I mean? Like that's my daily life now. And you're always looking to be moving forward, no matter what the career path is and everything like that. And I use everything that I learned in sports and football, especially, growing up and playing the game for as long as I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was, had a coach and my dad and all beat this into me. And I'm 34 years old and I still use it to this day. Early is on time is late, and late, you probably shouldn't even bother showing up. And
There you go.
to this day, I still remember I showed up to one of my day jobs, when sales jobs, I showed up the exact time I was supposed to be there. And I went in, I saw my boss once, said, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late." He looked at his watch. He goes, "You're right on time." I was like I said, "I'm sorry I'm late." And I just kept moving and went about my day, and I live by that today. And I learned that in junior high when I was first starting to get into the game of football. Early is on time. On time is late. And it's something I live by today. I gotta know, did Hal Mumme have anything like that when you played for him that you still take to this day?
Um, he definitely wanted us. He definitely had a thing with timing. He was big on that.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, being at a certain place on time, yeah, that's probably, I'm pretty sure that was important to him. I don't have any vivid memories of it. But when it came to timing, um, with our offense and how we ran things and how things had to be pinpoint, I tell you what, we used 80% of our practice time just running through plays. So typically at the college level, it's a lot of conditioning, um, a lot of one-to-one, going between players there. No, we did a lot. We spent a lot of our time running over plays and running through scenarios, and working on our timing with one another, with the linemen, with the backs, with the receivers, with the inside receivers. So timing was definitely important. Him and Coach Leach was another monumental figure for my experience at Iowa Wesleyan.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're getting to it now. Your college career's over, your athletics over. What was next for you after college? Where did you go from there?
Yeah. What was interesting is I had great relationships on campus with obviously with my peers, but also with my professors, administrators. Just had great relationships. One of my professors took me to the side after a class one day and explained to me what she does besides her time at the college there. And she is, to this day, she's a retired school psychologist. Now, at that time, I had no idea what a school psychologist was. I just put the two terms together, school and psychologist. So I figured, okay, well, somebody is a psychologist that works for a school district and works with kids. Well, that's somewhat true. So she became my mentor because I wanted to learn a little bit more about school psychology. And more so, as we move forward, I was introduced to a college professor at the University of Iowa, who was head of their graduate program, their PhD graduate program there. He encouraged me to apply. They typically had 60 applicants, but only accepted 5.
Wow.
And I just so happened to be accepted for that after my senior year. So that was my dilemma here. What do I do? Now, after getting accepted in February of my senior year, February of 1992, I was pretty much ready to just start my career and go into graduate training to become a school psychologist. Lo and behold, about a month later, Coach Mumme calls me and asked me if I wanted to come down to Valdosta State University as a graduate assistant. Now, I'm very honored with that because this tells me that Coach admires my leadership ability, that he admires my intelligence for the game, and that he is willing to take a chance with me to build other players and programs like I know he was going to do, because that's what he has always been known as a builder or a rebuilder of programs. And so he trusted that I could do that as well. Well, he also called a dear teammate of mine by the name of Dana Holgerson. Not sure if you're familiar with who Dana Holgerson is.
I am 100%. I am born and raised in the state of West Virginia and a huge Mountaineer fan, so I know
Awesome.
Dana Holgerson.
Awesome. Well, Dana and I played essentially the same position, opposite sides. We would have to connect before every game and made sure our timing was correct between Dana and I. And Dana and I worked very closely together. Coach Mumme thought it was a good idea to have both of us continue that work together. However, as you can see now, I declined because I wanted to move forward with my graduate training and become a school psychologist, which I am today. And Dana accepted, which he is doing extremely well, and I'm very proud of him because he definitely has that intelligence, he has that leadership, and even as players, he was always there soaking up knowledge, and he was a great player himself. One of the best route runners that I've ever seen, crispy route runner. So there it is, So sometimes I wonder, well, could I have been making $10 million a year like Dana Holgerson? Maybe not. But I'm happy with what I'm doing now. And working as a school psychologist, I've worked for school districts that have been open to ideas that I've had and practices that I have input into my regimen. And what I do is that I do assessments. I work with families. I work with students. I work with staff. And I look to find a way for us to serve and educate all students, whether or not they have a disability or not. That's my job. Is to figure out a way to educate everyone.
That is phenomenal work. And I think that needs to be paid like some of these college coaches, because not a lot of people want to do what you do, and that, I applaud that a great deal, as somebody who struggled with schoolwork, growing up and everything like that, even through college. I haven't really said this on this show. This will be the first time, but I am dyslexic. So, it took a while for me to figure out how to learn how to do certain things. And, that talk to a lot of school psychologists. So I know what you deal with on a daily basis. So it's rewarding. I cannot say that word, rewarding work that goes unnoticed a lot of the time. And, I applaud people like you that do that type of work, someone who still scratches and claws to learn stuff at 34. You know what I mean? It's something that, you adapt to. And I make the joke all the time. Well, you don't become a stand-up comedian because you were good at schoolwork. I always, still make that joke, I mean, I passed, I got a college degree. So but it was, people don't realize, people are like, oh, well, that class is easy. Well, maybe for you it's easy, but it takes a little while for me to process everything. I mean, being a visual learner, I have to see it, touch it, do it, and then I know it. And
There you go.
so I get that, and I applaud what you do tremendously. So do you have that sense of reward at the end of the day? I would imagine, knowing that you were able to help a student.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's very rewarding to me as well. And the fact that I was able to use the platform of football, because that's the path that allowed me to go to college. That's the path that allowed me to sit in the classroom and have that opportunity. It's very rewarding. I've tried some coaching, junior high level, some high school, but it's more so to develop young players. Didn't have a big role in coaching at all, but it was more teaching. But that's what I love to do. I love to give those opportunities to young people that we feel may be they may have a difficult time learning, understanding, maybe even having a difficult time having the opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So yes, very rewarding. Yes.
That's huge stuff. I mean, you mentioned dabbling in, coaching a little bit. One last question I have for you before we get into this last segment here is, do you keep up other than how, with any other former players or coaches? Do you rag on Dana if it's a close game or something like that? Just kind of, do you still keep in touch with those guys?
I do via Facebook. I just follow all of my friends. I got we got a coach that's at University of Utah. Wow, we have of course we have Dana. We have University of Oklahoma, Bill Beatonball, who's produced so many professional offensive linemen more than anyone else that has come out of Oklahoma in particular. He's the catalyst to that. So I'm very proud of him. But yeah, Facebook, lots of my former teammates are either high school coaches or college coaches. We're always encouraging one another. Now what we have is this incredible second generation of players. A lot of my teammates have these sons and daughters that absolutely excel at their sports. And it is incredible. And we absolutely celebrate it. Whenever they post out, and if at all possible, if I could ever get to a game, we're always inviting. The invitation's always there. But wow, it is so incredible how the sons and daughters of my teammates, they are doing incredible.
I'll tell you this. I got some buddies that I played with that knew the athlete I was growing up, especially when it comes to football, that take shots at me, but praising my son because he is a better football player than I was already. But I have a little bit of a difficult time coaching my son in the offseason. My son's a lineman. I was a receiver. It's tough for me to translate what I had to do to what he has to do.
Sure.
But he is by far already a better football player than I was. And my buddies every game, that they're at, they'll nudge me like, "Hey, I think your son's gotten on the field more than you have already in a high school game," and we take shots at each other, but it's all in good fun, but it's all praising him. You know what I mean? Like that he's out there doing what he's doing, and they love to see it, and they make it to as many games as they can. Being that he plays on Saturday mornings right now, it's a little tough to come down. I live about 2 hours away from most of my friends and old teammates, so them taking a 2-hour trip on Saturday morning to be at a 10 a.m. kickoff, they don't make it to a lot of games. But they're always asking after when they know about when the game's like, "Oh, how do you do?" It's good to see that and keep those relationships going. And I look forward to those texts every Saturday afternoon. Well, how'd the little man do? And I was like, little man, he's not little anymore. He's almost bigger than me. He's 6 foot, 250 pounds. He's big. He's a big.
Wow. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's 14. That's the other part. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
He's a big boy. Uh, But Marcus, we are running down near the end of the episode here. I do got to get this segment in because if not, the manager of the podcast will give me an earful, and that is the Fast Fitty Five. 5 random questions for the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. And
Right.
he sent these to me today, Marcus. So we're going to read these together. These are the most random questions. They're kind of rapid fire, but you can elaborate if you need to. So if you're ready for this segment, we'll go ahead and get started. Question number 1. What is your favorite season of the year?
Favorite season of the year by far is summer. I have a convertible that I love to drive, and I can only drive it in the summer.
Okay. I can understand that. I'm a fall guy myself, but I can deal with summer. Question number 2. Is listening to the radio overrated or underrated?
Listening to the radio is underrated.
Okay.
Plain and simple. You learn a lot. You learn a lot from that just by listening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Question number 3. Your ideal burger toppings are?
Ideal burger toppings: bacon, cheese, onions. Leave it at that.
No.
That's all I need.
Simple. I like it. I'm not mad at that at all. Question number 4. What's worse, shoveling snow or cutting grass?
Shoveling snow is worse.
Yeah.
And I do quite a bit of it living in the region that I live in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And last but not least, are roasted peanuts an enjoyable snack?
Yes.
Okay. That was the Fast 55. I feel like he took it easy on you on that one. They've been more random than that, but like that's we had to get away from this segment for a little bit, so I'm happy we're bringing it back. But it's he definitely was off his game on those ones because they're typically a lot more random than that. And for the new listeners out there, this is a segment we've been running for 3 years now on the show, and I don't know how he comes up with these questions sometimes. Like they're that random. And he sends them to me on the day I'm supposed to record. I think his main thing is he wants to hear the comedian laugh before he asks the question. I don't know. I love Fitty to death, though. We wouldn't be here without him with this show. So
that's actually a good idea, though. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny and I go back to college. He's one of the guys that we've stayed in touch, and now we run this podcast together, and everything like that. And I'll tell this quick story for the new listeners out there is that in college, I did not know his name was Johnny because everyone called him Fitty. I had no idea his actual name was John Falcone. And he still goes by that nickname to most people today. Everyone knows him as Fitty. So we were just thinking of, we need a fun way to end the show. What's a way to, with it? We have a lot of administrators, coaches, athletes like that. This is still a comedy podcast. We want a fun kind of way to end the show. And, I was like, a buddy of mine was running a show and he did like the Mount Rushmore of, and it was like, I was a comedian. He's like, all right, so who's your Mount Rushmore of stand-up comics? And he would ask every guest that he had on that. I was like, what if we did something like that? And as soon as I said it, he was like, Fast 55. I'm known for random questions. With 5 questions, it goes with 50. I was like, I love it. Let's do it. And we've rolled with it ever since. But yeah, I had no idea his name was Johnny Falcone. And it's because I only knew him as Fitty.
I love it too.
But like I said, we are running down near the end of the episode. Marcus, I give every guest this opportunity at the end of the show. If there's anything you want to get out there, whether it's to promote anything that you got going on, or even if it's just a good message for the listeners out there, I'm going to give you about a minute and the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I don't have anything to promote in particular, But what I do want, and I think that we see this nowadays, is I see that young people have a lot of opportunity to engage in extracurricular activity. That is just as important as your classroom work. So I want to, if anything, I am always an advocate for students, young people, to engage in extracurricular activity, no matter what it is. It definitely takes you a long way. I mean, it gives you the experiences that you need outside of the classroom, outside of home. You get to enjoy these things with your peers. I just think that it's a wonderful opportunity, and it builds a lot of different skills for you for the rest of your life. So if there's anything that I'm promoting, I am promoting extracurricular activity. I'm promoting movement opportunity. You should always have the opportunity to move your body, move around. If you don't necessarily work out at a gym, go walk. I'm just an advocate for that. But doing these things with your peers is priceless.
Absolutely. And
Yes, I really believe that. Yeah.
and I gotta say, I give every guest this opportunity. Like I said, I absolutely love it when there's a good message like that to end the show, because it's something important to hold on to at the end of a show. And, thank you for that. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you coming and taking time out of your evening to sit and talk with me for the better part of almost 45 minutes now, which I didn't even realize we're a little bit over the show, but that's all right. I love it when shows go long because it means we had a good conversation. But thank you again, Marcus Washington, for joining the show. That is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That is going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rocket on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.